Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good day, my Kardec Radio Spiritist friends and all others who care to join us. I have to apologize for broadcasting late. Normally it's at 4 o'clock that we broadcast this show. However, I messed things up in the last broadcast. I recorded for about half an hour and I didn't have it started. So we're going to start it again. And today we are bringing you chapter 109 from the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, written by the Spirit Emmanuel through the mediumship of Francisco Candido Xavier. And as I said, today's message is number 109, entitled, We Will Always Find. And after we read the message, then we will have some commentary, then say a prayer, and then bid farewell. So let us get started with number 109, We Will Always Find. The New Testament quote is from Jesus, recorded by Luke, under chapter 11, verse 10. For whoever asks, receives, whoever seeks, finds. Then Emmanuel goes on to write, based upon this particular New Testament quote, whenever believers feel the need for something, they automatically remember the Master's promise when he assured a response for every request. It is important, however, for us to know what we want. Of course, we will always receive, but it is indispensable to know the object of our request. Jesus said, whoever seeks, finds. It is also true that anyone who seeks evil will find evil. There is a perfect correspondence between our soul and the soul of things. We are not talking about a hypothesis. We are stating a law. To those who seek out thieves and listen to the false appeals of their inner world, every person is dishonest. This also applies to those who aspire to faith, but who approach religious groups with suspicion. They will never find faith because they analyze everything from the perspective of faithlessness by manipulating the inferior purposes with which they nourish themselves. They try and insist so much that they do not find anything but the disillusionment they were expecting in the first place. In order to find the good, we must search for it every day. Undeniably, in a realm of jarring struggles like Earth, hunting for evil is swiftly crowned with success due to the preponderance of evil amongst human beings. On the other hand, fishing for the good is not so easy. Nevertheless, the good will be found as a divine and eternal value. Much care is indispensable whenever we decide to search for something. For the Master affirmed, whoever seeks, finds, and hence we will always find what we seek. I think it's really interesting that Emmanuel titled this message, We Will Always Find. And that's the second part of the New Testament quote from Jesus. The first part is, for whoever asks, receives, and then it's whoever seeks, finds. And I think the reason he chose We Will Always Find was because he dedicated 2 small paragraphs to the first part, for whoever asks receives, and then he goes on to dedicate the rest of the message to the second part, which is whoever seeks finds. Now, there are some other references that I wanted to bring up at this particular time, and I'll pass them along at the end of the message too. In chapter 27 of the Gospel according to Spiritism is entitled, Ask and it shall be given. And then chapter 25 is entitled, Seek and you will find. So there's much more material you can read on these two subjects. However, let's get back to the first part, where he talks about believers when they need something, or at least they think they feel they need something. They automatically remember the Master's promise that assured them that a response will be requested. And this, again, is minimalized by Emmanuel's writing about it. And what was the thought that we had was the need. Do you really need this particular item at this particular time? And of course, when Christ was preaching and meeting with people, interacting with people, many people that came to Christ wanted healing, be it from a mental standpoint or a physical, which more than often was a physical type of thing. And he always told people that their faith healed them. And that was an immediate need that people had in mind. Some of these things that we ask for are probably not a necessity at this particular time. And that's why the answer or the reply will come later than we might expect. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. His second paragraph talks about knowing what we want. Of course, we will always receive it as he kind of verifies. But to know, it's indispensable to know the object of our request. And that object, we're asking, let's say we're asking something that is health is really important, and we know the object of having the health is that you can go about your life a lot easier, helping people. But if you, as so many people that got healed by Christ found out, their particular illness or disorder returned because they lost their faith. They didn't continue to practice that faith in God, that faith in Christ, and of course, probably succumbed to the type of behavior that actually put them in that particular situation. So knowing what you need rather than what you want is really important. Then he goes on in the rest of this message saying that Jesus said, whoever seeks finds. And then he puts right at the top, anyone who seeks evil will find evil. And I think this is why he dedicates so many words to this particular part of the New Testament quote, because as he talks about in here, that there's a lot of not so good stuff going on, and we of course can see the fires that rage across the globe. We sustain so much of it here on the West Coast, and then we get flooding in other parts of the nation. Hurricanes that just keep cropping up and keep inundating areas, damaging homes, businesses, schools, and also people, losing their lives. Not a lot of people losing their lives, but still there are people losing their lives under this. Of course, the temperature gradient has gone up. We know the earth has warmed up. So it's as some people would say, a perfect situation, perfect environmental situation that is creating this situation with the wildfires and with the temperature, the extreme heat that people are sustaining I think last year was the warmest on record ever recorded record, and this year's probably possibly do the same. I'm not sure. However, it's kind of obvious that we are getting a lot of encouragement to treat Mother Earth the way Mother Earth needs to be treated. And of course, you still have people that think that the Earth has gone through this type of transition before, and of course, it's still here. However, the Earth didn't have this many people, and it wasn't being ravaged quite as much as it's being ravaged now. It's totally being mistreated. We have a tendency to take care of things from a material standpoint. Unfortunately, we don't worry about treating the Earth, enough of us anyway, worry about treating the Earth properly to be taken care of, and how we replant forests, how we pull out, extract things from the Earth, the cold, and leaving, and we extract water to use for various needs, not only for drinking and bathing and irrigating, but we take it out for a lot of use in power plants and in manufacturing. And we must be very prudent about how we use this water, and not to pollute it, to make sure that we clean that water before we put it back into the environment, to take care of the cold burning plants, not to pollute the atmosphere. This is all this. We know what to do. It's just a matter, unfortunately, of setting the money goals aside to be able to put the money where it's necessary so that we can restore the Earth. We had a perfect example of it last year when so many of us were on lockdown. The atmosphere started to clear up. It was beautiful in so many areas that were smog laden, or the fact that you couldn't see the sky very well. People were feeling better, and it was because we weren't driving our cars as much or being out and about. Although there's certainly nothing wrong with being out walking in nature. It's a wonderful thing. So, and then of course you have the vaccine issue, and people who are, if you want to find the excuse for not being vaccinated, then you're going to have plenty of material to read and plenty of material to listen to. And it's the same thing with the environment. There's plenty of people who are going to say that this isn't really the case. Although I think that the environment issue, I believe, has a lot more followers now than we had before. I think there's probably a vast majority of people, probably well over 60 or 70%, that understand that things have to change. New York City was a perfect example of it when the subways flooded. Things that had never happened to them before. And the statement coming out of their government, their governor's office, was we have to prepare for these things because they will happen again, and happen a lot sooner than we may think. And that's probably the basic thing. But we also have to make plans to go more solar, to go more wind, to minimize the gas use for power plants, and to minimize, of course, the fossil fuel as far as oil is concerned. There's so many things that can be done, that need to be done, as far as from an environmental standpoint is concerned. So we'll get, again, the point is that when you go out and it's so easy to find the evil, as Emmanuel talks about in here, about the person that seeks out thieves or people that are doing the not so good, and they're going to find them. And as he said, just every person will be labeled dishonest, or every person will be labeled illicit. And then he talks about the people that aspire to find faith and but are so suspicious of the religious people. When you put that thought out there, that's what bounces back to you. I mean, that's what happens. If today we were making some calls, had a group of people here, and we were making calls to find some information out at one of the government agencies, and the thought was given to us to before we called, to ask for that person that would be most helpful and enjoyable to talk to. And guess what? When we called up this particular agency, it took us a while to get through. That person was a pure angel in answering our questions and tolerating what we were saying. She was just so very, very pleasant. And when you look for that type of thing, that's the type of thing you're going to get back. When you go into this situation like that and you think, it's going to take us forever and the person's probably not going to be able to help us, that's exactly what you're going to get back. So what we want to do is focus on the end of this chapter, which is the finding of the good. And you need, as Emmanuel says, you need to search for it every day. You must be searching for it. In Spiritism, we talk about seeking and feeling the good, visualizing the good, and then molding good, which is actually doing the good. And he had a wonderful analogy or comparison because of the struggles that we have here on Earth. It's evil is there, so the success for evil is very easy to find the evil. Hunting for evil is swiftly crowned with the success, as he says. But on the other hand, it's hard to find the good. It's he kind of gives you that analogy of fishing for the good he used. It's not so easy. And of course, fishing is a good analogy because you better know where to fish, what to fish with, what type of equipment to use, what type of bait to use, and how long, and to be patient. You really, one thing that fishing really teaches you is patience. And of course, that is a virtue that is predominantly needed in our society. And he says the good will be found as a divine and eternal value. And that's so key, because when you find the truth, it's never going to change. The goodness is always there. It's an eternal goodness, an eternal value. So that's basically what we wanted to offer to today in this. Let us now move on to a prayer, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and we're going to take a 4-second breath in and hold it for 7 and let it out for 8. So let's do that right now. Let it out. Dear Mother, Father God, Lord Jesus, mentor spirits, we ask for your guidance during this particular time. In practicing this technique of asking and receiving, and of course, more importantly, seeking and finding. This is so necessary today, where we are in our evolution in this earth and in ourselves. We must focus our attention on finding the good, because it's so easy to discover the evil. It abounds in our society. Prayer is what is needed all the time. Let us focus on turning a habit, making a habit of praying. And prayer takes all forms, as we know. And we can turn our day into a living prayer by the simple act of asking to do that in the morning when you awake. You're thankful for God for granting this day, and asking that every act be done in a good and faithful way, so that we may do good for family and all others that pass our way. We also ask for God's infinite love and healing energy to be shared with our family and friends and neighbors, our city, our state, and of course all over the US, and especially to our political environment, be it at the city level or the state level, and especially at the federal level, and in our Congress, our Senate, and our White House. We also ask that this healing energy and love be spread throughout the world, and especially into those hospitals that are battling the illnesses these days. And of course, the virus illness, and of course, other people that have so many other things that need attention. And to help the medical care workers that are there and all the support staff that support them in carrying out their mission of helping and serving. And let us carry this same healing energy and love throughout so many other needs. People that are in prison, people that are in mental institutions, people going through the immigration process, waiting in other countries to be allowed to enter our country or other countries in the world. And of course, suicide people that are contemplating suicide, to please understand that God's the only one that will lower and allow you to enter the afterlife. You must bear what is given to you in this particular lifetime. And of course, to those people that have already committed suicide, they certainly need all of our attention, all the attention we can give them and the love that we can give them, knowing that their struggle will be extremely challenging for them, but one that they can do. And also abortion. May the abortion issue be reconciled in our lifetime. It must be, because there's no reason that any mother cannot deliver their child. There are, of course, instances where the child must be sacrificed for the mother's health, but those are rare. There are organizations that will support and foster children. They will help with adoption, and they will help a mother to carry on and keep their child. These are something that must become mainstream in our society to alleviate this need for abortion. It is something that divides our country between the people that are pro-choice and the people that are pro-life. And there's no need to be the separation. We need to come together, and we can solve and put this to rest through birth control, through support for mothers that do carry, that do have a pregnancy. And there's always people that are waiting for children that will be more than happy to accept other children. We are all family. We are all related. And we all must come together in fraternity to build a more lovable and peaceful society. Thank you for your protection and guidance during this time, Jesus and God, and permission to end tonight's prayer. And so be it. My friends, thank you for listening. Bruce, I see you're here. It's nice of you to join all the way from Portland, Oregon. It's been a real joy to deliver this message. And we look forward to seeing you again next Thursday at 4 o'clock, hopefully. Take care, and our love and blessings to all.